everybody. My name is Cecee. I'm a prevention education specialist at the Crisis Center of West Texas. I have some guests here with me today. We're going to be talking about healthy communication when it comes to teens and parents communicating, but also these are just good tips and things we're going to be talking about when it comes to communication with absolutely everybody and anybody in our lives. So I will let my guests introduce themselves. If I can have Xylia go first.
Hi everybody, I'm Xylia Hidalgo. I'm the counselor at one of the counselors at the Crisis Center of West Texas. I counsel minors and adults, and I also have a 5-year-old daughter that's going on 15. So know how it goes.
That's awesome, thank you. Ms. Fuentes.
Hi, I'm Naomi Fuentes. I'm the AVID coordinator here at Odessa High School. I'm also a sophomore and senior AVID teacher. Love my job and love working with these kids.
Great. Dr. Weeks.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joe Weeks, one of the ministers at Connection Christian Church. I'm also the minister who works with the youth at the church, and I am a dad of a high school senior, graduating senior, and a high school sophomore, both at New Tech Odessa.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here in this video with me today. I know I appreciate it. The Crisis Center appreciates it. So we will jump right in. So my first question is, you know, all of our lives right now are constantly changing day to day. We have a lot of changes with our school, what's going to be happening. So with all of those changes in our lives, why might communication right now seem difficult for some people?
Well, I would say, but please go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I know some of my students that I'm trying to, reach out and contact and just be there for them. I think what they're struggling with right now is stuff's going on like anxiety, stress, fear, just negativity. And I think that's a barrier because they don't know who they can talk to anymore. They don't have someone face to face. It's just maybe mom and dad, and maybe they're not used to talking to them. So I think with our lives changing, and I think that's one of the things that's making it difficult is what fear, anxiety, things that they're having to deal with, making it tough.
Yeah, I was going to say communication really relies upon sort of the assumptions we have in our regular routines. And this state that we're in right now is one where all of our routines and schedules are completely thrown out the window. And so that makes communication all the more important because there are no longer those assumptions. Oh, I assumed you were going to go to bed at this time. I assumed you were gonna, take care of that schoolwork in the way that you used to take care of it. So the lack of routine and the changing of schedule, I think, makes communication all the more important.
I agree completely. And I think the fact that it's now kind of obligated to talk to one another since we're having to be home and stuff like that is a big change for everybody. We're so used to just a month ago that we were, in school all day, at work all day, and then we would come home and it'd be homework, it'd be dinner, it'd be already a set routine afterwards. And you really didn't have that time to talk. Everyone, yeah, here, how you been? It was school good? Okay, good night. And it's usually that kind of conversation because we all know that teenagers are on their phone all the time. We're over here busy on our stuff too, and it's now the fact that it's being quote unquote forced. It's almost like it's hard for them to like actually say, oh, this is a conversation that I can have with my mom and my dad or even my siblings because they're so used to relying on their outer circle, like their friendships and stuff like that. So I think that's what's kind of difficult for everybody too.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. So with those conversations that they're having, let's talk a little bit about why communication amongst a family and those people in your circle is so important. So why do y'all think that is so important?
I'm a very family oriented person. So I think just the unity and just to know that I have the family support is very important to me. I think I couldn't have gotten through some of the hardest times in my life without them. So I think this pandemic is affecting us in so many ways, and it's a hard time for a lot of people, including ourselves. And just to know that we at least have somebody to fall back on and depend on, I think is very important for all of us to at least feel for everybody.
Yeah, so this time of social separation, can feel like isolation. And so communicating and relating is a way of diminishing the effects of that. My wife's family last night, did a online conference video call for extended family. So there's like 15 people on the conference call, and the youngest grandkid among all of them was having, today was his day to learn the letter V, and so everybody was showing things with the letter V, and it was just interaction. But even just for my kids, that was good for them to jump on and remember that they're connected. It's important to remember and to actively seek out the ways we're connected.
Yeah, and I think because me personally, communication is important with family, but I think if you don't have that, now's the perfect time to work on it. I mean, if you don't have that communication, guess what? Now learn how to talk to each other. Find ways.
Yes.
I know, it's so funny. I've found that the Zoom conference app that we have now and like FaceTime group chats on Messenger have been so much fun lately. Like I'm even talking to family members that I just usually don't talk to at times, and I'm like, hey, let's get on a group chat and let's just have a conversation because we have the time to do it now, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that could definitely be seen as an upside, right? Making those connections or rekindling those connections with family. I would definitely second that. So let's talk about what are some things to keep in mind when having those conversations with teens or youth in general. So when you're trying to get through to them, or trying to talk about things that are important, what are some things that we should keep in mind as adults?
Oh, I'm bad. Sarcasm. I'm bad with sarcasm, and sometimes I forget. Okay, there's a difference between being sarcastic, joking, and then it being taken wrong and hurting someone's feelings, and that could just do damage. You could just damage a relationship right there. So, yeah, I think we need to avoid sarcasm first of all, and I need to work on that. But just teaching or modeling, be assertive, be direct without being harmful, or mean, or what's the other one, aggressive, without being, too hurtful. Just what do you want? Say what you mean, the basics that people should, try to speak to each other that way.
One thing I would say is just be mindful of good communication, of using good communication models. It's always this tension between saying what you mean, saying what you feel like you need to say, but also saying it in a way that can be well received. Because it is important to not just bottle everything down, especially when there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 folks who are, in the confines of a home. Those things don't stay bottled long. So you have to communicate how you're feeling, how you're experiencing the interaction, you and your kids, as well as everybody, spouses, everybody in there. So just like everything that we all teach, in these sort of counseling sessions with folks, like communicate how you feel, but use I statements, like instead of you always do this, like, I feel, ignored when this happens, right? Use I statements to frame it in a way that can be heard so that you can communicate what needs to be said, but also do it in a way that's not brash or insensitive.
And I think just also being consistent with, especially teenagers, they're so used to confiding in their friendships and their inner circles, basically off of technology as well. And now it's a matter of just kind of finding that connection with your kids. What we haven't really been doing, because we do rely on, oh, they have their friends, oh, I have things to do while they're able to talk to them and stuff like that. And we also need to understand that they're going to also reject us, when we try to get them to open up and stuff. So it's just being consistent with them, telling them, hey, this door is open. I'm here for you when you need to talk. And when they still say no, like, just say, okay, I love you. I am still going to be here for you. My door is always open. We're always here now, and, come and talk to me when you're able to, or when you want to.
Yes, that is great. And you guys already touched upon one of my other questions about using assertive communication, being straightforward with what you need in the moment, what you want in the moment, not having aggressive communication or passive, right? Just being straightforward. Now's the time to do it. We're going to be within these walls, right, with each other. So just being as direct as possible is really important. And then Joe, what you said about using iMessages. So we talk about that with our students through our lessons with the Crisis Center, telling people, I feel blank, right? That's using an iMessage versus you are doing this, right? We call that a blaming message. So just telling the person, like you said, I feel ignored, or I feel stressed, or just whatever you're feeling in that moment can really flip a conversation into a positive one. So that is really, really good advice. So
I'm sorry, real quick. I think that's also going to help with what Joe said about the I statements, because we're all going through very stressful situations. Parents are dealing with losses of jobs, or us working from home, plus the homeschooling that we're doing with our kids. The kids are, dealing with, having to do all of their work at school without the help of a teacher and stuff like that. And it's very easy for us to express our frustrations and take it out on each other. So able to, how Joe said, to use I statements will help try to alleviate some of that stress and some of that frustration toward each other.
Yeah, and I'll piggybacking on that is a key is empathy. To good communication is recognizing the situation, the circumstance that each one of us is in. So, I mean, I'm a delightful person. I hear that all the time, but only when you see me when I'm at my best,
right.
And all of this change and transition and inconveniences, none of us are at our best all the time right now. And so communication, the quality of communication, being intentional about communicating how I feel versus using blame, communication. I know that in my head, but when I'm not at my best, I forget that. So the empathy, just the significance of empathy, even if it means taking time to recognize, oh, wait, I need to even take a time out for myself before I communicate in a poor way. And so our kids, they've got lots, as you mentioned, lots of stress and lots of, they love being with their friends. I mean, they like me, but they love being with their friends. And I mean, they're teenagers. And so, they're frustrated. And so they're not at their best. So they're not going to be, by default, always able to communicate, correctly, or in their best interest as well. So just empathy about that, I think it would be super helpful for all of us involved.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think the message that we're trying to send is there is hope. Communication might be hard now because we're stressed and we're not at our best. And there's a lot of things going on in our lives that might be hard, but there is hope to improve that communication, and it will go a long way, when it comes to our families, just being able to communicate. So that is it. That is all that we have. So I want to thank you guys for being on here with me and talking with me about this. So I really appreciate y'all's time, and y'all gave great information. So I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.